Howdy folks, I'm Xenomorphic Xanthopedal, Xanthusly Xeroxcaping Zyclotic Xeroxes.
I'm Amber. I was hung up on this. I don't think I understand half those words.
And here's some Reddit. It's basically, I'm a strange yellow flower that's landscaping yellowish or wooden Xeroxes. So, roughly is what that boils down to. So let's get started on that. Alright folks, and our first letter is titled, Am I a jerk for making my daughter-in-law cry when proving the earth was round? This is dumb, and I really don't feel like I'm in the wrong here. I am not going to hide that I am some huge fan of my daughter-in-law. She can be a bit dense, and we have clashed over basic things. My 2 grandkids are at my place twice a week. I like NASA, and I have been staying up to date on the Artemis 2 journey. My 2 grandkids are 5 and 7, and they saw me watching and were confused, the best way to put it. They thought that it was fake because their mom told them things in space were fake. I assumed that she was just talking about space movies, not overall the fact that people went to space. I decided to show them the moon landing and some takeoffs, and I asked them if they wanted to see a double sunset. This is when you lay down and you watch the sun go down, then the moment that you don't see it, you stand up and you get somewhere up higher and you will see the sunset again because the earth is curved. My daughter-in-law showed up when we were waiting for the sun to go down. We did a little experiment and saw the sunset twice. The boys had a great time. I made a comment that this is one way to show that the earth is a big ball. My daughter-in-law had issue with that, and she told me that I'm not telling the truth and that the earth isn't round. I was confused, and she told me the earth was flat. I started grilling her on why she thought that, and she couldn't give me a reason. I asked her to explain why the other planets were round, or why we could see a double sunset. I asked her why boats disappear in the distance from the bottom up, and she got upset and said that I was calling her dumb. I didn't say that out loud, but this is literally my definition of dumb, thinking that the earth is flat. Well, she left with the kids, and I got a call from my son saying that she has been crying. That the boys kept asking her space questions and not believing what she says because I showed them other videos. He told me that I have to apologize and that I overstepped. I told him that I won't apologize because the earth is literally round. He said that he knows, but I need to apologize to keep the peace. All right, folks, what do you think?
No, you absolutely should not apologize because you did nothing wrong. It is important that children know actual science. And the fact that OP's son is like, oh, well, I know it's wrong, but no. Dude, you are failing your children as a father by letting your wife pump their heads with nonsense. OP did a very basic scientific experiment to show the kids and help them with their critical thinking skills. OP did a great job there. And the fact that the daughter-in-law refuses to think critically, has just accepted these beliefs and will not take on any ideas that conflict with them and is passing this on to her children, is doing them a major disservice.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that it's fine to present our, evidence, right? If she has a scientific theory, then she should have scientific evidence and proof as to why she believes this, right? She can't just say, well, I have a gut feeling that this is true. OP showed actual evidence and explained actual phenomenons to their grandkids on why they felt that the earth is a sphere. Now, this isn't just like OP saying, oh, I have vibes that the earth is, spherical, right?
Yeah.
This is actual empirical evidence that can be measured that shows that the earth is a sphere, right?
Right, and that's why daughter-in-law is having such a hard time getting the kids to believe her. She doesn't have anything on her side other than, well, I say so.
Yeah, and the thing about the flat earth is that it's a much harder thing to explain than a spherical earth, right? And I know that, unfortunately, we kind of live in an age where we have a lot of misinformation and we have a lot of, doubt in the sciences, and I think that's a really unfortunate place to be at. Not that experts always have the right answer, but I think of a lot of people, the criticisms I see a lot are like, oh, well, there goes science, they're wrong again type of thing. When basically, if science doesn't do a perfect job at explaining the phenomenon the first time around, right? Which I think is unfortunate because there are a lot of theories that get refined over time, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, sometimes we have to start with like more basic models and kind of build
Hmm.
off of them. And sometimes even the science we're told in school, because people will like cling to the science they're taught when they're young, but it has to be oversimplified because
Hmm.
it's really hard to try and explain fuzzy electron clouds to fourth graders.
Yeah.
You know, you teach them that an atom is like a hard sphere with these other little particles, electrons and protons kind of floating around in there, because it's a model that, you know, a 9-year-old can grasp.
Hmm.
And so I think people need to understand that one, science has to be simplified sometimes to be comprehensible to the average person. And two, there's so much to learn and so many intricacies, you know, and it takes all kinds of discoveries to really get a full picture.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes, like, there's sometimes evidence where you might be doing a scientific experiment and you have variables in your experiment that you didn't account for, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you could have a perfectly legitimate experiment, but you draw the wrong conclusion from it, right? And that happens, right? That's just the process of science. And the thing is, like, other scientists are supposed to come behind you, or you're supposed to go behind other scientists, and help to prove or disprove these theories by running the same kind of experiments over and over again, right? And sometimes you're going to be right, and sometimes you're going to be wrong, and that's really what it boils down to. Science is about disproving the theories, is really what it boils down to. And when somebody disproves a theory and comes up with a new one, that's science actually in work, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it isn't that, science isn't a fixed thing. Isn't the scientific knowledge isn't a fixed thing. The
Yeah.
process of discovery is a fixed procedure, right?
Yeah. Well, I think you bring up a really excellent point that, like, some things are very complicated. Like, there are interactions that go in our body, like the whole, like, oh, are eggs good or bad for you type of debate that
Mm-hmm.
people have. The way individual human bodies respond to cholesterol
Yeah.
is, it varies from one person to another. And, you know, so what results you get depends on so many factors involved in your study population. And trying to extrapolate that to a whole entire nation or world is really hard to do.
Oh yeah, well, and I just was catching up on a study recently that was talking about sodium, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, apparently, after 2 generations with mice studies, they found that basically sodium wouldn't impact blood pressure, right? And so there might even be a genetic component to like sodium and sodium levels. So while some people might need very little sodium and it might impact their blood pressure a lot, other people might be genetically disposed to needing more sodium to keep their blood pressure at a certain level, right? And this is certainly, like, there were differences between populations like the Americas and in the like Japan and stuff like that. So very, very different needs for sodium intake and everything like that. And so, like, you just don't know what kind of variables are going to pop up, because you think like something is consistent, and you are wondering like, oh well, this must be the case for all people, but it turns out no, it's only for certain demographics, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so again, like, science is like a matter of discovery, and sometimes you're going to be wrong, and that's not a bad thing in science, right? Sticking to a bad idea in spite of the evidence is bad,
Mm-hmm.
right? That makes science not science, it makes it dogma, right? And there are scientists who do this, but they're not good scientists, and I wouldn't even say they're scientists at that point in time,
Right,
right?
exactly.
But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck.
Get to geek out over science for 5 minutes.
Yeah. All right, folks, and our next letter is titled, Will I Be a Jerk for Secretly Changing My Last Name? I'm a 27-year-old female, and I hate my last name. It's German, it's very hard to pronounce, and it's a pain to spell to others. And honestly, I just want a nicer sounding name. Call me conceited, but try living with people fumbling it for the last 27 years, and we'll talk. Well, anyways, the long and short is that I would really like to change my last name. Not just to any name, but one that's meaningful to me. I'm single and have been for a while now. Marriage used to be my light at the end of the tunnel of changing my last name, but as I get older, the less it seems likely, and honestly, less I want it. Well, I've spoken to one family member, not immediate family, about my desire, and they were a little mad and honestly confused about why I would want to change my last name when I will probably get married someday anyways. I tried to explain the above, that dating hasn't been great for me, and the less I want it over time, since I've had a very successful and fulfilling single life. I tried to explain that it's just something that I want to do, it's my choice, and since it doesn't affect anyone else, what's the problem? Well, this family member said that even if I do it in secret, my immediate family could find out, and I could risk making them feel like I don't want to be a part of the family anymore. Of course, I expressed that this isn't the case and that I love my family dearly, but I do see where she's coming from and that it would separate me in name from my dad, mom, brother, etc. And the last thing that I would want to do is upset them. What do you think? Would I be the jerk for secretly changing my last name? Edit. I can't believe this post has gotten so much attention so quickly. Thank you for all your comments. From what I've read so far, a lot of you are right that it might just be better to rip the band-aid off and tell the family rather than keeping it a secret. It might be ugly at first, but it would save a lot of hassle down the road if they figure it out that I've been keeping it from them for however long. Also, for clarification, I'm in the UK and there's no trouble with voting, etc. when it comes to changing names here right now. All right, folks, what do you think?
I mean, I don't think OP is in the wrong, but I do think that giving the family advance notice instead of trying to keep it a secret is probably the better option. You know, a name is a gift and you get to choose whether it fits you or not. You know, sometimes someone gives you something when you're little and it's great then, but then someday it no longer serves you. You're not obligated to keep it forever. Even if it's really, really sentimental to the gift giver, you still don't have to keep it. But again, I think trying to hide the name change would lead to inevitable conflict down the line, because eventually OP's two worlds are going to collide if she changes her name on social media, or if people who know her with the new name run into her family, or people who know her with the old name. There's gonna be some way it comes up.
I do think that OP should tell them sooner than later, but I would say alternatively, if OP really wanted to, and this, not that they should have to do this, but they could have a fake marriage with a random person that they meet online, have them flown over so that they're not part of their area, hire them for the day, and then have the marriage and stuff like that, and then just change their name later, right? And then that way it smooths everything out. They have everything taken care of. And then when people are like, well, what happened to your marriage? Oh, he cheated on me the day afterwards, and I had already changed my name, so I'm just keeping it that way. Oh, well, OP wins.
I mean, I feel like that could unravel very quickly too. I feel like that's a hard con to keep up.
It might be. It might not be.
I just picture. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. You go ahead.
I was gonna say, I'm just picturing OP auditioning people based on their last name, who has the coolest name.
No, they don't. They don't even need to tell them the last name. They just have them they hire someone from another country, right? And they bring them out.
they might actually pick someone with a cool name to play the part.
Well, they could do that too. They could have actually audition people and then just say, I just want you for a day, and then the marriage will get called off or something like that, right? They don't have to even sign the real marriage paperwork and just be like, oh, I found out after the fact, and then we hadn't signed the marriage certificates yet, fortunately, but blah, 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 blah. I'm not saying that's a good idea. But I do think it's odd that the family would have less of a problem with OP changing their last name because of marriage than just from a choice of their own, right?
Well, and I think that's actually a really good point, that, it is socially acceptable and even expected in a lot of families for women to change their names when they get married. And sometimes if you don't, then you're seen as oh, well, you're not really part of your partner's family, you're not supporting them, all this sort of stuff. You're a bad wife, a bad partner, which is not cool. But then, if you actually want to change your last name because it doesn't suit you, then you're throwing away family. And so that is a very interesting consideration.
Yeah. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. All right, folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Calling CPS on My Friend? My friend recently had twins. I've known him for 13 odd years, and he's always been a good friend to me. He met his soon-to-be wife about a year ago, and while I never liked her, she always seemed quite reluctant to talk to me, even though my friend told me that he's done everything in his power to explain that I'm a decent guy to her. I've let them be, since he seemed to be happy with her. However, recently, he was over at my place when his fiancée snapped at him while being at a bar. While she had said that she was supposed to watch the twins, I think they're almost 1 year old as of writing this. He seemed a bit distressed over the situation, but after a bit of back and forth, he calmed down when he said that she would be back in about 40 minutes or so. I was quite alarmed over the situation, and while I don't have kids of my own, I think it's pretty common sense that 2 toddlers being left alone is a recipe for tragedy, so I was pushing him pretty hard on whether this was a common occurrence. He avoided most of my questions, deflecting to minor speeches about how great of a mother she was most of the time. Well, once he left, I called CPS, and I wasn't comfortable with the situation that he painted for me. There are no doubts that he's a good father, but I think that he's afraid of making his significant other mad. He called me back today asking if I was the one who had called, as he couldn't think of anyone else who would have had a reason to call. And I owned up to it, as I've always been quite firm in my beliefs. He started cursing me out, saying that his significant other had been crying for hours, and that I had ruined their lives. While he's not my best friend or anything, as stated above, I've known him for like 13 years, and losing him as a friend is really bad. Do I apologize, call CPS and try to defuse the situation? Or was this the right thing to do? I really don't know right now, and any insight would be helpful. I'm sure that this would have been a wake-up call for them, and that they'll be more caring in the future. Am I the jerk? All right, folks, what do you think?
No, OP, absolutely not the jerk for calling CPS, but I think you need to look a little bit harder at this situation. You say your friend is there's no question your friend is a good dad, but if that was the case, when he heard his kids were being left alone, why wasn't his immediate response to be, sorry, OP, I've got to go get my kid? Oh, it's just 40 minutes. We're talking about a very small child. This isn't a 13-year-old. You cannot leave them alone for 40 minutes.
Yeah, if I had been OP in this situation, I would have been like, what? Go.
Yeah.
Why are you here now, right? Go to your children. That's the thing that kind of struck me about this whole thing is OP just seems to be blaming her.
Yeah, and it's a two-people person, two-people person.
Yeah, there's
two-people problem here.
Yeah. I, for the life of me, don't think that OP needs to be tangled up with these people, but I do think that calling CPS was the right call. If they're leaving children alone for hours at a time while they go out and do whatever, hang out with friends and drink, that doesn't sound like they're ready to be parents, and it sounds more like those kids would probably be neglected pretty heavily, right?
Yeah, well, there's so much that can go wrong, even in a few minutes. Leaving kids alone for 40 minutes, that is just inexcusable.
Yeah. And honestly, oh, darn, don't know what to do. My kids are alone at home all by themselves. It's just not something that I would even register in my mind if I heard that.
It'd be like,
I gotta get out of here. My wife has left the kids alone again. It's I don't even know. I would just be so annoyed in that situation, and
terrified, scared for the kids' safety all the way home.
Yeah. So I hope the kids are safe. I hope the kids are not being neglected now, and that they're being more careful parents.
I like how they're oh, you ruined our lives. It's no, maybe you have to actually parent now, and if you can't parent, then you shouldn't have kids.
Exactly. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. All right, folks, it is tea time. Grab your beverages of choice. I've got some tea right here, and Amber, she has a joke.
What's the difference between the Christmas alphabet and the regular alphabet?
Well, I would say a Christmas alphabet has more trees and snow and sleet in it, and the regular alphabet has none of those.
The Christmas alphabet has Noel.
Oh, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. And I have Earl Grey. All right, folks, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Happy Special Sunday, folks. And you know what makes it special? You do, and Amber does too.
And Brian does too.
Amber, we need some kind of moral advice and or guidance, and please have it on leaving your kids alone.
Don't. Small children cannot be left alone for any amount of time.
Yes, yes. But thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye.
Howdy, folks. I'm Xenomorphic Xenopedal. Howdy, folks. I'm Xenomorphic Xenopedal. Xanthusly Xeriscaping Xylotic Xeroxes. Howdy, folks. I'm Xenomorphic Xanthopedal. Xanthusly Xeriscaping. Howdy, folks. Howdy, folks. I'm. Why did I write this?